Hey, this is Greg, and in this video, I'm going to teach you how to create a YouTube end screen with Canva. We'll talk about why end screens matter to begin with, where do you start in Canva, what should you include, and then finally, I'll show you how to hook it all up together in YouTube Studio. And then if you want a free copy of my 7-step guide, which is going to summarize this whole process, I'm going to tell you how you can get that for free as well. So if this all sounds good, then let's dive right in. So let's work this problem in reverse, starting by just making sure we understand what is a YouTube end screen and why is it so important. So on screen right now, I just have paused another one of my YouTube videos. So I'm just going to play the very end of this video so we can see the YouTube end screen attached with this video. So I will do that now. Just hit the play button here and grab those freebies. Again, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon. So after I make my closing statement, we get this end screen. We see there's a little bit of animation here, and then we have some links to some other videos, an ability to subscribe, little thanks for watching. So what is an end screen? Just calling it screen is maybe a little misleading because it's not like a frozen static screen. It is actually part of your video, the very end of your YouTube video. It can be between 5 and 20 seconds usually. I usually make mine 20 seconds. And what do we do with this real estate? Why does it matter? Well, really, this is the end of your video where you want to put a call to action. You have someone that has engaged with you, they've watched your video, and so now what are you going to do to make sure you can bring them back to your channel so you can provide more value to them in the future? So this is a great place to have links to other videos, and you can have links to other videos on YouTube. You can even have links off of YouTube, although YouTube likes to keep you on their platform, and part of their algorithm is just watch time. So that's why linking to other YouTube content, a very good idea on the end screen. Give people the ability to sign up for notifications so they can get notified when another one of your videos comes out. Really, the important part of this is that YouTube is such a valuable platform. You're watching this now. Hopefully I'm providing value. If I provide value to you, then we build trust. You're more likely to come back and watch my videos in the future, engage with my brand, maybe become a customer if I have products. So this really is a crucial place for you to sort of build upon that relationship. Get people to engage even more in your content. This is a way you can provide even more value. So this space at the end of your video, your end screen, or if you want to call it your outro, maybe that's more appropriate since it's actually part of the video, an outro. This is really crucial real estate that we want to make sure we take advantage of. Let's continue to work backwards now, and let's jump over to YouTube Studio and see how we're actually going to set up this end screen, how we're going to add things like links to other videos, a subscribe button, how are we going to add those elements to our end screen. Now, I'm sure you're probably familiar with YouTube Studio, so studio.youtube.com. This is just where you're going to go to manage your YouTube content as a creator, to upload new videos, to make these adjustments to things like your end screen. So here I am on my channel dashboard. Now, a lot of times you're going to hit this create button, you're going to upload a new video, and then as you go through the process, that's where you're going to add your end screen. But you can also come back in after the fact and adjust an end screen for any of your videos. So let's jump into the content section here. I will jump over to this video here. So I'm just going to come here, and on this video here, I'll just click on the details button, and then we're going to come down to this editor. Because you have these different sections when you're working on a YouTube video, but under this editor section, this is where you're going to have the option for adding an end screen and then adding different end screen elements. Okay, so this is the video that right now currently does not have an end screen element yet. Let me find another one right here that has an end screen. So if I jump over here, we see this has an end screen, and then you get this edit button once you already have an end screen element. So you can come back in and edit it later. But for now, we're working on a brand new one here. So let me find that tab again. Here we are. So you're going to see this plus icon when you do not have an end screen yet. So add end screens. So if you hit this plus icon, then you're going to have the ability to apply a template. that just means you're going to look at one of your pre-existing videos or templates you saved that might automatically have like 2 videos that are best for the viewer, a subscribe button. So it's going to have different elements already pre-set up. Otherwise, you can manually add those using these buttons here. But so if you do choose apply template, you're going to see options like this. So I can import it from my last video where it looks like I had a video, I had a subscribe button and another video, or here's some other options again. So again, you can come in here and apply a template like this, but I'm just going to go back here for a second and let's go back in here again under that. So again, I'll come under here, again, I'll come under editor. And this time I'm not going to apply a template. I'm just going to come in here and show you some of the different options you have here. So option number 1, other than template, is you have this video option. Now, when you choose a video, you're not like choosing to upload another video all to itself. What you're doing is you're creating a little placeholder that's going to be a link to one of your existing videos. So you see when I hit that plus icon and I chose the video option, now suddenly I have this little placeholder here. This is going to be the space on my end screen where that video link is going to show up along with a little thumbnail. So if I zoom in here even more on my timeline, I can see that this video element was placed at the 9:19 mark, so 9 minutes and 19 seconds, and it goes all the way to 9:39. So for 20 seconds. But so if I zoom in farther here, so let me just choose this plus to zoom in on my timeline, and then we'll zoom right to the end because that's where we're going to find this option right here. Let me zoom out slightly so we can see all of that. So right here. So we can see that this video element, which I just added to my end screen, goes from 9:19 to 9:39. Now, I said your end screen can be 5 to 20 seconds because you can come in here and hover over this, and if you get over either side, then suddenly you can drag it down. Now, you can't make it any shorter than 5 seconds, and you can't make it any longer than 20 seconds, but you can work within those parameters, and then you can also move it anywhere within that last 20 seconds of your video. But so the takeaway here is that this is going to appear over top of the last 20 seconds of your video. That's why the design of the end screen is going to be important, because you don't want these elements to just appear over top of important copy. You really want to have that space at the end of your video for these end screen elements. So I usually finish all of my important talking points, and I just sort of have a 20-second end screen trailer right at the end of my video, an outro, just so I have space for these end screen elements. And then when you do have a video like this, you can also size it up to a limit, right? That's the limit. Or you can size it down to that's the limit for how small you can make it. And you can also move it around, but you'll notice when you do get these bounds where you can't quite move it to the edges of your screen. There is a safe area. And again, these are all important things to know when you're designing your end screen over there in Canva, because you don't want to sort of set up important copy that's just going to be covered over here by your end screen elements. So we'll get into that more as we jump over to Canva here, but just know that you are going to have to pay a little bit of attention to where you're going to put these end screen elements on screen. So I could do something like this here. And then once you have an element like this here, you can also choose what's going to appear in this placeholder. So this is a video placeholder we added. And now I can see that right here for this video element that I have selected, it's just going to choose my most recent upload. So my most recent uploaded video, or if this is the most recent video, then that's when it's going to have a prior video. But the most recent upload is going to show here, and the user will be able to click and immediately watch that video. So again, you're trying to keep them watching your content. But you have other options here. You can choose best for viewer. So it's going to sort of use the YouTube brain and figure out what it thinks is going to be best to your viewer, best for your viewer. So in other words, what other types of videos have they watched? What type of content do you have? What's the video current content that they're watching? And that's going to use that YouTube algorithm to figure out what's best from that. Or you can specifically right here choose exactly what video you want to link. So that might make sense if you're doing like a series of videos and they're watching part 1, and so you want to link to part 2, or if you have some highly related video that just makes sense, you can choose that specifically. But usually if I don't have that, then I will just choose this best for viewer option, because I trust YouTube to sort of make the best choice. Okay, so those are your options for video. But then of course you can come in here, you can add more than one video, so you could add another one here. And again, position it wherever you want. You can move these around, and as you do, you'll sort of get these alignment guides that help you position things and get them so they are lined up together. And again, whatever's highlighted here, then you're going to see that information over here. So you're going to see the timestamps related to it, what you've chosen for what the content's going to be, and you can continue to add more elements. So again, you can also add a subscribe button. So here's your subscribe button. Now you'll notice that there is some part of the card here that now covers over my other element, but really it is this circular element that you're concerned with, because if you're over top of a particular video, you'll notice here with the subscribe button, you don't see the rest of it until you hover over it. And that's where they can actually click and subscribe to your channel. So I don't worry so much that it's going to overlap this when I click on it or roll over top of it, because I can still see this as long as I'm not rolling over top of that. So just something to keep in mind when you choose that subscribe option as an element you're adding to your video. So other options in here that we did not discuss, you also have a playlist. So a playlist would appear exactly the same as those video placeholders, only you're choosing the specific playlist that you want to link up there. So that's another option. And then also, as I mentioned before, you can link to an external link. Just keep in mind, it is a good idea to keep your YouTube viewers on your YouTube content, since watch time is such an important part of the YouTube algorithm. So I'm not saying never send them to an external link, because if you have an important call to action and you're having them sign up for something that's part of your business, that could make sense. But a lot of times I do try to keep them on my YouTube channel. Now, of course, channel is another option where you could link to another YouTube channel. So if you're collaborating with someone, you want to give them a nod, you want to link to their channel on your end screen, you can do that as well. Okay, so these are the important things to keep in mind when you're designing your end screen and you're setting it up here in YouTube Studio. And then remember, you can come back in later and you can come in here and make edits, but you can't edit your video once you've uploaded your video. That's why it's important that we are going to have this space in our uploaded video the first time we upload it, because if you have to take a video down and re-upload it, then you're losing all those likes, those shares, any juice that video is built up in the YouTube algorithm. So really, that's not the ideal scenario. That's why we want to design this in Canva up front, have space for all these end screen elements that we're going to want, and that way we don't have to redo the work and potentially lose that YouTube, metrics that we've been getting for that video. Okay, hopefully that all makes sense. We're going to lock this in now by going over to Canva, talking about how you can easily design an end screen in Canva, how you're going to work it into your final video, and then we'll come back here in YouTube Studio just to see how we again go through this process, and then we'll look at the final result and see why Canva is a great tool for doing this and why it just pairs well with this YouTube end screen setup. All right, so let's jump over to Canva now and let's work through a real world example. Okay, so here we are in Canva, and now this is where we're going to actually design what is going to become that YouTube end screen. So why use Canva? Well, Canva is very easy to use, and I think that ease of use combined with a lot of the templates that give you great starting points and all the elements that you can bring in and use in your videos, that's why Canva makes a good choice for something like creating a YouTube end screen. So let's take a look at how we're going to do this. Now remember, when we actually upload to YouTube that final video, it might be like a 10-minute video, maybe it's even like a 30-minute video, but what we're going to focus on now is that last 5 to 20 seconds. That's going to be the end screen. Now, I will talk about how you put that end screen together as part of your whole video, but first let's just focus on creating that 5 to 20-minute clip that is going to be our YouTube end screen. Now, whenever you're starting a Canva project like this, you do want to think about your file dimensions and your resolution. So if you're working with HD video, that's going to be 1920 by 1080 pixels. If you were working with something like 4K video, that would be 3840 by 2160 pixels, but you can upsize things later. And so we're going to focus on just HD video, 1920 by 1080. And the most important thing when you're starting here in Canva is making sure you sort of choose the right content category, because that's going to more easily get you to the right starting templates. Let me just give you what an idea of what I mean. So presentation files, for example, I know those are 1920 by 1080. So let me just launch a new presentation file. So I have this in a new window. I launched this from a presentation. But if I come here now and I search for something more specific, which is a good idea. So instead I'm going to type in YouTube, and I could type in end screen, or I could type in something like outro. So if I do something like that and choose YouTube outro, here's an official Canva template, and just choose a blank one here. I even could have just chosen the video category. The reason why I'm mentioning this, because if you do choose something like I did with the presentation, so here's the one with the presentation, because it thinks it's a presentation, because I sort of got the content wrong in terms of what I'm trying to create. Even if I come in here now under the design tab where you can search for templates, so I'm under design, I'm under templates, even if I type in YouTube end screen right here and search for that, you can see here's one that, you know, makes sense because it has those space holders for subscribing and for the videos. But if I just go back and look at those other options, even though I typed in end screen, I don't see a lot that look like this. I don't see a lot that look like a good starting point for YouTube end screen. Contrastingly, if we look at the file where I actually searched for YouTube end screen, right here, right off the bat, I'm getting all the results I want. Now, if you just launch a generic video format, you might not see all these right away, but if you search for YouTube end screen, since you are within that video thing and not a specific different format like presentations, you are going to get more of these results. So being as specific as possible when you're deciding what sort of starting point for your Canva template file helps you more easily get to, you know, a good set of templates. Now again, you don't have to find the perfect one before you launch, because you can come in under the design tab, under templates, search up here, but you're going to get better results within this search if you start as close as possible to the type of content you're trying to create. And so now that we have this, and now that we searched within here, we can really come in here and find a great starting point that's going to give us a lot of those elements that we know we're going to want on our end screen. So this is just going to save us some time and save us some work, and that's always a good thing. So I always like to start just by coming in here, searching these templates, and if you just click on one, it's going to populate over here, and then you can, once you've clicked on one, it's going to sort of give you similar ones to what you've selected. So because I clicked on this particular one, now let me just scale this down so I can see it a little bit better, but under that design tab, now it's giving me similar ones to that. But if I want to go back to where I just was, I can use this back arrow, and now I'm seeing more options. And if I just click on another one, then I'm going to replace what I had on screen. If I go to a second slide here, then I can actually do a second one on this page. So now I could compare this one and this one, or maybe we're going to put multiple ones together for our end screen. And again, we're probably shooting for 20 seconds. That's what I like my end screens to be, but you don't have to immediately pay attention to the total time when you're just searching through templates. You're just going through here and getting an idea of what might make a starting point. So we can try this one. Then we can look for other similar ones down here. We could try this one, okay? So again, you can go back to this initial search here, or you could search something more specific, like you could say YouTube outro, and then maybe you could say pink, since you're trying to look for things that are just pink in color. So again, just things in your search up here as specific as you can be that are going to get you to the best possible starting points for what you want, okay? Doesn't mean it has to be exactly right, because of course now we can come in here and make changes. So I sort of like this screen here, but then maybe I want something before that, so I'm going to drag this one in front, and maybe I just want like a thank you screen or a thanks for watching. So I'm just going to go thanks for watching, just to see what it brings up here in terms of templates. And now I see all these thanks for watching templates. So maybe I'm going to have something along those lines show for a couple seconds first, and then it's going to go to that screen where we have the different cards, placeholders for our videos, the subscribe button there that we're going to add once we go over to YouTube Studio. So you're just thinking about what elements you want. Now you can make it real simple, and it could just be this one screen. You don't have to have this thank you option, but if you do want to have something like that, you could click on this too. And of course, a lot of these do come in with animation, so you can sort of come in here, drag your playhead, hit the play button, see what it looks like, and then of course we can come in here and make changes. Okay, so step one of this whole process is just going through these templates, figuring out what you like, what you don't like, and then once we do that, we're now going to come in here and edit, and we're going to come in here and play with the timing, make sure we get all the elements we want, all the timing we want, and create what's going to be this final thing that then we're going to take over to YouTube Studio. And when we take it over to YouTube Studio, I did skip one step. We're going to take this, we're going to create this, then we're going to combine this video with the rest of our video, and then we'll take it over to YouTube Studio, and then we'll add those end screen elements. Now, we could come in here now and we could do things like start to mess with the timing here, so I could make this timing shorter on my timeline. I could actually select everything here, and then we could actually show the element timing so we can see all the different things on screen. Again, if you're not seeing that show timing, you have the show hide timing option. And again, whatever you have selected, it's going to show hide that timing option. But I'm not going to go into all these options. What I'll do is I'll actually link a video up above where I do talk about all the ways you can sort of edit video and work with video here inside of Canva. So I'll link that up above if you want to look at that. But to keep things simple for this example, I think I'm actually going to get rid of this slide. I'm just going to work with this one slide just to keep things simple. Because really what's going to matter the most here is the call to action. Getting caught too, it's nice to have the animation and stuff in here, but getting caught up with that too much, I think sort of takes the focus away from just having a very simple, concise call to action. You don't have to get carried away with your design. Really, it's just about a simple call to action that complements the video you just did, that points to other related contents, that gives the watcher, the next step. What do you want them to do next? So I'm going to start with this basic design here, but I will come in here and make some adjustments. It's sort of got this animated element in the background. I'm going to get rid of that, and then I will come in here and make some color adjustments. I'll add my logo and things like that. So again, you can come in here, add your own branding. So if I just go under my projects tab here where I can search my folders, I will search for my brand assets folder, which is right here, and then I could bring a logo over. So I can bring my logo over here, put it on top again, as much as you want to do. Then come in here for this thanks for watching. Get rid of that for the moment. I could add that back in if I want to. This arrow, not sure if I'm going to use that arrow yet, but we'll just sort of move it down there for a moment. So we get the logo up top, and then this I'm going to bring over. I want to maybe group these together so I can work with that a little bit better. So I'll group that. I'll group this here. Again, just repositioning things. So again, you might start with a template and you might like some elements of that template, but then you really can still come in here and make it your own. Make any adjustments that you want to make with it. Let's group these two things together. And so I'll group them together. Now remember, there were safe areas on that YouTube screen when we added card elements. So in other words, I couldn't have this all the way to the side because this is going to be beyond the safe area. So keeping things centrally located, at least so you know they're going to be within that safe area. And you can always test this all after the fact in YouTube Studio, come back and make adjustments, but you'll get a feel for this the more that you work with it. Now this element here isn't going to be anything where I add any YouTube end screen, interactive elements, so this can be up a little higher, and I'm not worried about whether it spills a little bit beyond that safe area. That's okay. But this here, we're going to move up, making sure it's still within the area that we want it to be. Maybe we'll have these elements here, so let me just come in here and we'll group this together. We'll slide that over here, and this is just a picture placeholder. So of course, again, could come in under my brand assets and add a picture. But this I know is going to become my subscribe button, and it's just going to use my YouTube sort of a profile image anyways, so I'm not so worried about this image here. I could even get rid of it. I could leave it. It doesn't matter. Again, it's just a placeholder. I will come in here and change the color though, so let me just go under position menu, make sure I can see all my layers here. We'll ungroup this for now just so I can see all the different layers. This layer here, let's make it so that it matches my photo color up here, so let's just make it more in line with that. Again, we'll go ahead and do this. Move this over underneath this side. This arrow, I think I'm just going to get rid of for the moment. I might put some talking head where I actually have myself over here on this side of the screen. So maybe I will sort of centralize all of this here. So let me just get all of this. Let's just put it here like that. And then I think I may leave this space here for some talking head, which we'll talk about how you can add that in just a moment. But I'm also going to change the overall color here to the background color. So let's come in here and maybe make this more of a green. Again, full around. Anything you want to do and come in here. I don't love the way it's working with these colors here. So let's just come in here and fool around. Try some different colors in here. Just finding something that works with your overall design. You may have specific brand colors. Again, you can add something like a gradient like this. So again, all these different things you can come in, you can play around, you can fool with, you can make it on brand, you can make it so it makes sense for you. So I think I'm going to go with something like that for now. Again, you can always fool around with this all you want. Just as you do, just remember you're keeping in mind what end screen elements you're going to be adding later in YouTube Studio. So actually with that in mind here, I think I'm going to make this a little smaller. I will ungroup this for a second because what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to space this out even more. So let's see, let me make sure I grab both of these elements. Let's try that again. I'm having trouble grabbing both of these. Let's grouping these together. Let's move that out. Let's actually take this subscribe element up here again, make sure it's grouped. I'm actually going to bring that up here and have it appear between these two. We can make it a little smaller too. So something like that. And then I'll take all of this and space it down ever so slightly. So again, just keeping in mind what those end screen elements are and making sure it's going to fit within that safe element, that safe space that you have in YouTube Studio. In other words, you can't go all the way to the edge of your screen with elements that are going to be placeholders for those elements you can add to your end screen. Okay, so go ahead and something like that. And again, I won't make you watch all the other changes I might make here, but I will show you how you could also add some sort of talking head if you wanted to add some talking head. Now, of course, there are also ways to do this outside of Canva. I like to use a program called Camtasia, so I'll show you just a tiny bit of that at the end of this. But you also can, if Canva is what you have, and you have something like a webcam, a microphone, you can actually record talking head right here, right inside Canva. Even do things like screen capture, but let me just show you how you would add some little talking head, maybe if you want to have a call to action down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come under the Uploads tab here. But under this Uploads tab, you have this Record Yourself option. So you click on that and it opens the recording studio here inside of Canva. So you're going to see something like this. You can tell it what webcam and what microphone you want to hook up. Again, it's going to find anything that you have naturally hooked up. You can find that right here and set that up. So I'm going to use this camera. I'm going to use this microphone right here so I can choose my different options. I want to make sure you have the best one possible. So this is my best microphone. So I want to make sure that's turned on. Then I can go ahead and click this record button. And then this is now when I'm going to look up at my webcam and I'm going to sort of do that call to action that I want to have on that end screen, keeping in mind that I only have 20 seconds, right? So I don't want to record something that's 30 seconds because it's not going to fit over that entire end screen. But let's go ahead and record something now, and I'll show you how this works. So I'll go ahead and hit this record button now and record a little call to action for my YouTube end screen. So here we go. Hey, this is Greg. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, you can give it a little like below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications so you can be notified when we have future content that might be helpful to you as a Canva user. Thanks again. See you soon. And then once I've done that, I can go ahead and click this done button here to stop. And when I do that, it's going to go ahead and give me the save and exit option. And this is actually going to save that video I just recorded off to Canva. So when you hit save, you'll see it show up here. It's going to give you a little playback here. And then suddenly you're going to have this video as something you can add to this end screen. Then I can come in here, I can move it around. By default, it's putting it into circular frame, but I could detach it if I wanted it outside of that. I don't want to see all this clutter on my side, so I'm going to hit Control Z because I do want it in that frame there. Again, you might have a clean workspace behind you, so however you want to do this is fine. But for me, I'm using this green screen here, and I'm not actually going to green screen myself out now in Canva. Not something you can easily do in Canva, but as I said, I usually do this in Camtasia, and then sometimes I do green screen myself out just to get rid of the green here, but different options for different programs. So again, do what makes sense for you, but you can very easily record yourself like this in Canva. You can come in here, you can resize, you can reposition, however you need, whatever is appropriate. Now, one thing I will mention, right now we can see my total clip here is 18.5 seconds. You have a maximum of up to 20 seconds for that end screen. Now, a lot of times you can come in here and you can sort of re-change the timings just by dragging stuff, but then a lot of the times you won't be able to drag it all the way out to the right. Whether you can expand something in your timeline sometimes depends whether it's a looping graphic, what type of content is it, but sometimes you are constrained by this overall length, which usually is controlled by the length of the longest video in your content. So since I recorded something that was 18.5 seconds long, it expanded this these other elements, these static elements in my design so that they fit that 18.5-second timeline. It's not super easy for me to come in here and expand that and change that timing, but I will show you a trick. Let's say I wanted this 18.5-second clip. First of all, there's some stuff in here I could trim, so maybe let me do that first and show you that. So I'm going to drag my playhead back to the beginning here, and then I'll hit the space bar to start the playback. Hey, this is Greg, thanks. And there's maybe a little bit I could trim at the very beginning. So let me just zoom in even farther here. So if you zoom here, you're zooming by default sort of on your screen up here. If you switch down here, you can go from zooming page to zooming your timeline. Just want to make the scale of this a little bigger. So now I'm zooming on my timeline just so it's a little easier to get in there and make edits. Now if I come in here and hit play, hey, I can see that really there are a couple frames here I can get rid of. And if you use the arrow keys, you can actually go back one frame at a time. So right when I start talking is maybe right here. So really, for the most part, this is okay. But maybe I could trim off that little bit right there. So let me just drag that forward. And then, hey, this is Greg. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, you can give it a little like below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications so you can be notified when we have future content that might be helpful to you as a Canva user. Thanks again. See you soon. So right there, I stop talking and I start to look away. I want to get it before I look away, so let me just sort of pull back a couple frames using my arrow keys, and then again I can just drag to trim this clip back. Now let me play the whole thing one more time just to make sure I got the portion I want. And I actually can reposition it here anytime I want now within the timeline here. So let's put it right at the beginning. So I'll drag it all the way to the beginning. Let's actually just do a preview of the whole thing. So let me just hit the play button here. Hey, this is Greg. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, you can give it a little like below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications so you can be notified when we have future content that might be helpful to you as a Canva user. Thanks again. See you soon. Okay, so that is pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of that. And so that allowed me to trim this down. Now, the problem is now, if I want to make this longer than 18.5 seconds, we still see that this is still 18.5 seconds because this video clip without it being trimmed is 18.5 seconds. So if I want this to be longer than 18.5 seconds, really what I need to do is add a longer video clip. But I don't really want it to become part of my final sort of playback video. So we'll just do a little trick here where I'm going to come under videos. So I'll come up here under elements. We'll just search for video. So I've typed in video there. We're just going to pick out something longer than 20 seconds. So this is 30 seconds. So I could drop this on screen. Okay. Let me just hit Control Z. I didn't want to actually have it go into the frame. I'm just going to size it way down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to hide it behind something. So I'll drag it way down here. And then I also want to make sure it's not going to actually play back any sound. So if I have sound, I also want to make sure that this is muted here. And with it selected here, I see that it actually has audio grayed out. So that's great. It doesn't actually have audio. If I click over on this one for a second, we can see that, yes, that does have audio here. And then if you wanted to turn the volume all the way down or off, you could with the clip. But I don't actually have audio here with this, so I do not have to worry about it. All I have to do is hide it somewhere. Again, I'm just using it so that now I can come in here and make my timeline longer. So we see that this now here, this new clip right here, goes to 30 seconds, and it's actually made this whole thing 30 seconds. So what I want to do is drag this back now to the 20-second mark, because that's how long I want my total video to be. And so everything now is trimmed to 20 seconds. I'll bring this over this right here. I don't actually want it to be over that, so actually let me hit Control back to just put it behind everything, and then I'll just go ahead and push it up so it's behind everything, totally hidden. Again, I am just using that in my design as a way to be able to come in here and change the timing. So this whole thing now is 20 seconds. So now if I come in here and hit play and we watch the whole thing, we see the whole thing here. Hey, this is Greg. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, you can give it a little like below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications so you can be notified when we have future content that might be helpful to you as a Canva user. Thanks again. See you soon. Okay, so that looks pretty good, but it's pretty abrupt the way that this just disappears over here. So we may want to change that, give it a little animation or something so it fades out more subtly. And then remember that these elements up here are just placeholders. We're actually going to have a video thumbnail showing here and here, and my YouTube profile showing here. So remember, some of these are just placeholders, and then other parts we're adding in the content here within Canva. So let me close out of that, and then this element here, let's come over top of this, and then I went under animation here, and so now I have my animation window. Let me just close that for a minute so you can see this. Go under here, make sure we come under animation. It's got a fade icon, but let me just get rid of that so you could see. So we'll get rid of this remove animation, and now when we click on this here, you're just gonna see the animate button here. Of course, we click on that, that's what gets us back into this menu over here, and then you can sort of go through these and see how it's gonna affect the different elements here. So again, we might just choose something very simple. So we have sort of these tumbles, we have a bunch of different options here. Let's just go back to that fade though, and let's just go for a very simple fade. Now again, let's make sure we are on this element here. So let's make sure that this is selected. Let's come in here, and then maybe we'll have both. Maybe we'll have the speed a little slow. Actually, let's just have it on exit. We're just going to do it on exit. And so now if I scrub back and then play this whole thing, again, I'll just go all the way back and hit the space bar. Hey, this is Greg. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, you can give it a little like below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button for notifications so you can be notified when we have future content that might be helpful to you as a Canva user. Thanks again. See you soon. And then we see that by the way that fades out, it just looks better. So, I mean, so these are the basics of coming in here, making your changes, and getting the overall video length to the way what you want it to be, keeping in mind you have some placeholders. And then when you're finished with all of this, this is when you want to actually export this as a video. To do that, you'll come over here to the share button, and then you're going to choose this download option and then MP4. Now there is this quality slider here. You remember at the very beginning we talked about resolution, and in this file particularly, we set it up for that 1920 by 1080 full res HD video, which we see right here. This quality slider actually attempts to bump up your quality, your resolution. If you're a pro member here, if you have Pro Canva, you can bump this up. So if you wanted to scale it up for something like 4K, you could see as I drag that up, we can see how it says 4K for large screens. Or if we scaled it down, now it's only going to be appropriate for drafts, 480, for 720. So pay attention to that if you want to upscale or downscale, but a lot of times you're going to keep it right here where by default it comes up with as you open this dialog. So then you're going to go ahead and download that and save that to somewhere on your computer. Now, keep in mind, this is that last 20 seconds that's going to be our end screen. So we will still need to combine that with that rest of your video that's going to be your YouTube video, and then we're going to put this little piece at the end. So you could bring them both back into Canva, import both clips, put it all together in Canva, or of course you could use different video editing software. I tend to do a lot of screen capture, and so I use Camtasia, and so Camtasia is where I end up putting this all together, and I'll show you in a minute what that looks like for me. But before I do that, let me just mention something else to keep in mind as you're designing a Canva end screen like this. One thing I like to do is design something that sort of acts as a template that I can use for pretty much all of my YouTube videos. So in other words, I'm keeping this all pretty generic. I'm not making anything on this screen that's very specific to one video. Now you could, for example, you saw the way I recorded this here, and so this piece of video that has me talking right here. If I go under my uploads, it's right here. Of course, I could take this, I can move to a folder, and so I could call it something like Talking Head or YouTube outro talking videos. And of course, I could record different ones, and I could have a base Canva file that just had this whole design, but not the little talking clip. And then for most ones, I could just export a version that didn't have the talking head or had generic talking head. But then if I wanted to ever do something that was specific to one video, I could come in and make little edits here in Canva. So always think about your workflow, templating, what makes sense. So set up assets so they're reusable, but then also allow for that customization when you need to come in there and make something specific for one video, for one design, for one asset. Okay, so that's my advice about that. But let me jump over to Camtasia now and show you, once you have this 20 seconds, 5 seconds, however long you made your end screen, your outro, what do we do with it next? All right, before we continue on and we learn how to connect up this end screen part of our video with the rest of our video, I wanted to jump back in here and talk about a mistake I just made. Now, a couple things with this. First of all, I encourage you to make mistakes. Even as someone who's teaching this, I just made a mistake. You're gonna make mistakes. That's okay. But what you want to do is learn from those mistakes. So I'm going to tell you about my mistake, and I'm going to give you a way to avoid my mistake, because that really is the key. If you're going to fail, you want to fail forward. You want to learn so you're not going to continually make the same mistakes. So at the very beginning of this video, when I talked about YouTube and adding your end screen elements, I even talked about watching out for this safe area where you can add the end screen elements, and making sure that your placeholders for the elements where you're going to be adding these end screen elements are within that safe area. But then when I was doing my edits, I got a little cavalier moving things around. I stopped paying attention to those min-max allowed sizes, that safe area. And so if I looked at my end screen here, which I've loaded up into YouTube Studio, it may be hard to see, but right here, I actually have my placeholder and it falls outside of the safe area. So let me just hit play for a second so we can see this. And we can see right here, this is outside the safe area, so I can't get my sort of video card here, my video element, to line up with the background element I had for that. Now, you could avoid that by just not having these background elements if you don't want a border or something around it. But if you want a border, or if you want this graphic element around it, then you are going to have to make sure it's within the safe area. Now, I have things like my logo here falling outside of the safe area. I'm actually okay with that because that's not going to be interactive like these end screen elements are. But for these elements here, I do want them to line up and be within that safe area. So let me show you what I've done to help avoid this problem going forward, and I'm going to give you a resource, a free resource, so you can avoid this problem as well. Okay, so here's what I've done. I went ahead and created a Canva file that maps out all these YouTube Studio safe areas and the min-max size that a video element can be. So this black rectangle here in the background, that represents the safe area, and then these rectangles here, I have the min and max size that a video element can be. Also the number of pixels here that you can go to for max size, and number of pixels for min size here. So I'm going to share this so you'll be able to make use of this. So in the first pinned comment below, I'm going to have this as a shared Canva template where you can get this, you can make it as your own. Now I'm also going to share a step-by-step guide of everything we cover here today, so you can get both of those for free if you just sign up for my free Canva newsletter. So I will put all of that in the pinned comment below. But let me show you now how you can use this to help avoid this mistake I made. So if we look at the position and then layers menu here, we can see that we just have that background element here. This is marking the safe area, and then we have a group here for the max size a video element can be and min size. So I'll start with this background safe area here, and I'm just going to hit Control C to copy. Now in a different tab, I have my end screen open, so I will hit Control V just to paste this in here, and I want to make sure that this covers the entire area, so I'm going to stretch it right to the edge, and there it is right there, and then I'll drag it below all the elements that I want to see if they're within the safe area. And now I can see that this rectangle here falls outside of this black safe area, so I'm going to have to make some adjustments for that. Now I have text here falling outside the safe area, and I have my logo, but that's okay. I'm okay with that because they are not interactive elements, so I'm less concerned about them falling slightly outside the safe area. But this area here, this is something I'm going to want to adjust. I won't make you watch me make these adjustments. I'm going to make these adjustments. Also, the other thing you could do is come over here, is I could come and I could copy this min and max size group here. So let me just click and then Control click to select one, and then Control click to select the other group. I'm going to hit Control C, copy both groups, come back over here and Control V to paste these on here, Control V. I could even group these together even farther, and then just have an element here where I'm going to come in here and I will just take the transparency of that and bring it down. But I just want to come over here to make sure that, yeah, these at least meet that min size. It's close, but it looks like, yes, actually, if I look at this now, they're a little smaller than they need to be. So I actually need to size these up slightly and make sure they're within the safe area. So this is just how you can use these elements in this template I'm going to share, just to make sure that you're following the rules of YouTube Studio. In other words, elements can be a certain size and they have to fall within a certain area, and you want to make sure you adhere to those rules. So what I'm going to do, again, I won't make you watch me do this, but I'm going to size these up slightly and make sure they're within the safe area. And if you use these guides that I'm going to send along to you, you won't have this problem. Now, again, I think most templates designed in Canva are probably going to avoid this problem because hopefully people have accounted for this. Not necessarily, but hopefully. But again, having this guide will just give you a way to double check. And if you start making your own tweaks, your own templates, then this is also going to give you a way to check just to make sure you're following those rules. So again, I'll have this in the first pinned comment below. Okay, as mentioned, you could have done everything in Canva if that's the tool you use and you use that for your entire YouTube video, including the outro. You could put it all together in one file, export it off. That would be fine. But as I mentioned, you may end up using different software if your workflow and your videos get a little bit more advanced. Because I think Canva is great and it does have some interesting video tools that allow for simple things, but when you get a little bit more complicated, then I don't think Canva is the best choice. So the tool I use is Camtasia. So this is just a look into Camtasia, and this is actually the project file for the video you are currently watching. So I put all of that together using screen capture with Camtasia, so I can scroll back through and you can see some of the things you've watched in this video. And then if I wanted to come in here at the very end of this and add that 20 seconds on the end, that YouTube end screen, well, actually I have a little library here where I have one that I use a lot of the time. So here's a YouTube outro I've done in the past. So if I were to come in here and drag back to the beginning of that, we can see that here we have this little outro that again I created in Canva and then I brought in here. Now of course if I wanted to go get that one we just created, I can delete that and I can import new footage. So let me just go back here to my main little library here, import media, and you can import anything. So let's just come in here and here's that little end screen and here's the little outro example we've been working on. So let me grab this, open this up, and so here is that YouTube outro. And so let me just bring that in here and go ahead and hit continue. And then if I just bring this back right here and hit my little space bar to play, then we'll see in a minute here on screen. Hey, this is Greg. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, here we go. I won't make us watch all of it, so I'll stop it. But that's what you would do. Whether it's in Canva, whether it's in here, you're going to come in here and you're going to add that to the very end of your video, the last 20 seconds, the last 10 seconds, however long you want that outro to be, that end screen to be, you're going to do that. And then of course I would export this off for my final file that I'm then going to upload to YouTube. Okay. And whether you're working in Canva or whether you're working in here, it is nice to have these template files. In other words, this little section right here is where I have all of my reusable assets. So I have things in here like my YouTube intro, and then I have things like my YouTube outro. So that just makes it when I'm video editing, I can just grab these things because I don't want to do this from scratch every time. This is the type of work where I want to put some effort into it once and then have a reusable asset. Maybe something occasionally I'll customize or make a different version, but I like to have that one version that I can use again and again and again because that's going to save me a lot of time. Okay, so we've gone through this whole process of creating the outro, getting it onto the end of your video, getting that exported. Now, of course, let's loop back to YouTube Studio just to tie this all together full circle. And let's look at how we're going to bring this into YouTube Studio and add those video cards, that subscribe button for a completed YouTube video with an end screen. So here we are back in YouTube Studio. Now we're ready to upload our final video that has that outro portion of the video where we can start to add in those end screen elements. Let's go ahead and do that now. Now I know we covered a little bit of this in the first part of this video tutorial. However, it's going to look a little different when you first come in and upload a video versus when you go back and edit one. So let's just review how it's different, what it's going to look like, what those differences are between the two methods. So I'm going to come onto this create option. You're probably familiar with this, but you can upload a video. You can drag something right in here from Windows Explorer or something like that, but you can also just select files here. So I'm going to select this version here. This actually is not the full final version of the video because I'm still recording the full final version. So it's getting pretty meta. So we're going to use this smaller version here. Now I'm going to come in here and it's going to make me fill out certain requirements to go to the next thing. So for example, I know I have to do this even though I'm not actually going to do all of this and publish this video. I'm just going to show you sort of the options here because it is this video elements tab. That's where we're going to get to the end screen option. But first we have to go through these first couple ones. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through these screens. Now, when we get done with this and I turn this off and choose done, now I go to the next screen. Now on this screen here, this is where under video elements, this part of the timeline as we're uploading a new video, now I have the ability to add an end screen. So this is where I'm going to come in here and choose add end screen. And now suddenly this is looking familiar with what we went over in the beginning part of this video. So again, if I come over here and I were to come in and edit one, remember this is what we did before. We went in here and we went under details, and then it was this editor portion. That's where we got into here. That's where we were able to edit this end screen. When you're first uploading a video, you're going to find it under sort of this option here. If I just go ahead and discard changes for a minute, remember under this video elements tab, that's where we're going to find it. That's where we're going to come in here. And again, you can import from another video. So I'm going to go ahead and do this because I know that design I used had this 1-2 video placeholders, and it also had that subscribe button placeholder. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose import from last video. And when I do, it's gonna add these 3 elements. So it's got 2 video placeholders. Well, one is using best for viewer option. So right here, it's using best for viewer. And then this next one here, this one over here, it's actually using a playlist, Canva tutorials, playlist I have of Canva tutorials. And then of course, this center one here is my subscribe button. Now, I notice a few mistakes already here. So if I scrub back through my timeline, which I can do just using this here, I can see that we're actually seeing a little bit of that picture that I meant to have hidden behind the element. But I think since, let me make all these just a little smaller for a second so we can see a little bit more of what's going on here. I think because this part animates, because it's animating when it's at the beginning of the animation, that's when I'm seeing a little bit of this photo. So that's something I should probably go back in Canva and fix if I don't want to see this little bit of that. Honestly, not a big deal, but go back and fix it. That's why it's maybe a good idea to, when you first start creating a template like this, go ahead and fool around and export a shortened version of your final video with those end screen elements, just so you can test out your end screen, see any tweaks or changes you may need to make. Because the other thing I notice here, if I come in and scroll a little bit longer, I can see that I made sort of my placeholders smaller than they should be, because if I come in here, I can resize this a little bit, but that's as big as I can go. That's as small as I can go. Not that big of a deal because I could just reposition and cover up those placeholder areas. But had I intended to have an animation around my video or to really be able to see that border here, then I've made it a little too small. I can't actually do that, okay? So I can come in here and I can reposition these things and get them set up like this. But I might want to go back and do those little tweaks to make those fixes, okay? That part is really up to you. But then you're going to get the whole thing set up here, and then of course you can preview and see what it's going to look like, see what that final version is going to look like. Then when you're done, save your changes, and then of course you can always come back in here and edit this. So remember, you can come back in, you can edit, and then when you edit something, you go under this editor option, okay? So this is how you create and set up a YouTube end screen using Canva, and then go ahead and put it all together here inside of YouTube Studio. Okay, thanks for sticking with me throughout this video. I know we went into a lot of detail, but I just really wanted to make sure you're covered. But let's just do a quick review, because the whole process, once you're familiar with it, actually is really pretty simple. So you're going to jump over to Canva. Under your Canva account, you can search for something like YouTube end screen. You're going to launch a video format, usually 1920 by 1080 if you're doing that HD video. And then you can search for all the different templates. Find templates that make sense for you as a good starting point. Now, as you build out your design, you can add in all your brand elements, whatever you want, but there are a couple things you're going to keep in mind. One, you're thinking about those content placeholders that you want for that final YouTube step. When you go into YouTube Studio, you're going to want a place where you're going to upload, those video cards that are going to hold videos, other content of yours that the viewer can then go watch. You're going to want a place for your subscribe button. And then you're also going to want to make sure that you have a call to action. You want a call to action so you get the viewer to engage. What do you want them to do next? Do you want them to like, subscribe, watch another video, go to a piece of your content, leave and go to your website? All these things you got to think about when you're building out that YouTube end screen, because that really is your place to have a call to action for your audience. Then you're going to finish building out your design. You're going to export it off as an MP4, And then remember, you still need to attach that up to your entire video. So usually you want it to be the last 10 to 20 seconds of your video, and then you're going to upload the whole thing to YouTube. And then in YouTube, remember, you still have to go in, you have to add that end card, you have to add those different elements in there so that you actually make use of those placeholder spaces in your design, or you actually then add that video element, add another video element to hold a playlist, add something to hold a link, add something to hold that subscribe button, okay? So the more you practice this, it's easier it's going to become, and then you're also going to have an asset that you can use again and again as you build out different YouTube videos, okay? So I hope all this was helpful, and since we've reached the end of this video, you know what that means. You know what's coming next, right? Hey, this is Greg. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe if you like content like this. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I have a free step-by-step guide for creating this type of YouTube end screen with Canva. And if you want to get that guide, just look in the first pinned comment below and you'll have instructions on how to do that. Thanks so much again for watching, and I'll see you soon.